Throughout the annals of Nintendo's history within video games, I would argue that aside from Mario, no other character has had as large an impact in shaping the overall company than Donkey Kong. The success of the Big Apes arcade game in the early 80s paved the way for Nintendo's continued presence in video games, the resulting lawsuit from Universal then shaping the company forever in regards to its, let's just call it protective stance over its IPs, and we can't forget Donkey Kong Country and its sequels clawing back Nintendo's dwindling market share from a then surging Sega with its incredible pre-rendered graphics. Whenever Nintendo needed to push its console innovations and show the world that Nintendo does what the competition don't, Donkey Kong was there to be that vanguard, even being at the forefront of pushing bizarre technology like N64 expansion packs and bongo control schemes. That's another video. But if Mario was there to show you the potential of a given piece of hardware, Donkey Kong was not far behind to show you its future possibilities. And that was also true for Donkey Kong Country Returns. Following a pair of console generations where Nintendo was in a more experimental mindset, Donkey Kong Country Returns lives up to its name in mirroring the Wii's return to basics philosophy. Providing a more challenging counterpart to New Super Mario Bros. Wii, it was perfectly poised to move many of the new platformer fans onboarded by the Wii and Mario towards a more permanent customer base. And the narrative of this game, how we got it, what it meant to me at the time, and how it is perceived today, is a story that has been evolving for almost 15 years now. A tale weaving through developmental fate, historical amnesia, and recency bias, ultimately ending up to where we are today with a lot of people acting like this game isn't worth playing anymore.
It's false. It never happened. It's a fake. It's fiction.
And to do that, we should probably start with the impact of the Nintendo Wii, what its mission was, and why Donkey Kong Country Returns was made in the first place. Looking back at the GameCube generation these days is strange. While the system is now lauded for its creativity and quality, I remember at the time being just baffled by its strange reskinning of familiar franchises into something unrecognizable, to such an extent that I actually decided not to get one back then. Many felt this way, leading to it being swept over by the DVD player and even passed up by Microsoft's brand new Xbox, its first console entry into the space. Nintendo needed to get back to basics, and it needed to do it fast. Enter the Wii and its focus on casual fun and a plethora of games that harkened back to their earliest consoles. Wii Sports, a motion-controlled throwback to the easy pick-up-and-play NES sports titles, and games like New Super Mario Bros. Wii offering classical 2D Mario with a brand new 4-player mode. The success of these efforts giving Nintendo an idea. What if they could turn back time with Donkey Kong before bongos, before expansion packs? There was just one problem. Rare had been sold to Microsoft, and over there things were going well. Fortunately, Rare had just finished the Metroid Prime series up, and with the head of the studio even being someone who originally worked on the Donkey Kong Country series. As Iwata said, it was fate. And so Retro then began the process of putting their own unique stamp on the Big Ape, starting with his newly redesigned foes. It's easy enough to write the Tikis off from a nostalgia perspective. During the original Donkey Kong Country trilogy, the Kongs were pitted against the Kremlins, beloved crocodilian ne'er-do-wells led by the equally memorable King K. Rool. And for enemies so tightly bound to a series, fans rightly wondered why they weren't present in a game billing itself as a return to Donkey Kong Country, leading to years of rumors and speculation that maybe Nintendo didn't have the rights. Maybe Rare took the Kremlins with them in their acquisition by Microsoft. And if this was true, we would never see the Kremlins again. So how did they do? Well, problem is with the execution, not with the idea itself. Because most of the enemies are generic brainwashed animals, and these are mixed in with the Tikis, this results in a serviceable but ultimately forgettable collection of adversaries outside of a few standout bosses. That said, they do get more hate than is warranted, as they actually add pretty substantially to the lore of DK Island by making the Tikis the original inhabitants of the island who have come back to take what they view as rightfully theirs, the island's banana hoard. Hypnotizing the island's animal denizens to do the dirty work for them, the Kongs are somehow able to withstand this, and after laying a beatdown on one unlucky Tiki, they set out to do what any self-servicing apes would do: get back their bananas. So while you could say that it's debatable whether these foes do the job up to series standard, one thing that cannot be disputed is Retro's interpretation of DK Island and the level design that they derived from it. What is so impressive about DK Isle this time around is how seamlessly its new makeup and this new story around it integrates with the level design. While the island is largely the same one that you remember from Donkey Kong Country, aside from the snowy peak, now traded in for a popped volcano crater, the eruption that heralded the Tiki tribe's awakening also caused a series of knockoff effects, from collapsing caves to restless oceans to collapsing ruins and aqueducts. The catastrophe is used to perfect effect, creating this synergy between the events of the island and the platforming that you'll be doing. Like classic Donkey Kong Country, each level has a strong theme throughout. So on one stage, you may be dodging a handsy octopus's tentacles, but on another, you may be running from an angry nest of spiders that you happen to disturb. Classic world themes are given fresh inspirations, like a factory stage that uses the rhythm of machinery to enable you to time your jumps and roll to the beat of the music. A wonderful vine-swinging, barrel-blasting canopy stage in the forest for a throwback to the original, or a desperate climb up a collapsing canyon face. Equally impressive is how each level and world leads into the next, so when exiting the mines you'll bounce up some giant mushrooms to get to the forest canopy, giving the game a sense of a progressing journey. I've always respected when platformers have this attention to detail, and Donkey Kong Country Returns is no exception. Of special note are the silhouetted levels, where DK, the enemies, and most of the stage are bathed in shadow against vibrant backgrounds. Being able to identify Donkey Kong by his red tie, it plays with its concept by being able to hide enemies and obstacles strategically. These artistic standouts are paired with classy jazz-themed songs that complement each stage well. And while there are not too many of them, this just means that every time they do appear, there's an environmental reason like sunset or smog. Making them stand out is special. The game also brings back minecart and rocket barrel levels, even maintaining their one hit and its over mythos, but with a level of interactivity not possible on the 16-bit hardware. Now, that's not to say that it makes these levels any better if you were a hater in the original games of them. For example, I absolutely hate the hand-cramping button mashing needed to maintain the barrel rocket's altitude, and I found these to be more frustrating than fun, personally. Finally, Rambi is the only animal buddy who makes a comeback, and I might get some hate for this, but I wish he had stayed behind. Where in the original games his momentum was as fast and fluid as the Kongs, here he just feels off. Something about his momentum and this level design just seems to lack that flow that is so perfect otherwise, with awkward stops and starts that lead to cheap deaths or missing things he really shouldn't have. There are only 2 levels where he is mandatory for progression, but as one of them is a rare silhouetted stage, that's something I just cannot forgive. That covers it for the level variety, but the world map also hides a few fun details because even here, you can tell something about the level you're going to be going into just by looking at what is surrounding the stage select icon. Cranky also set up his own cabin to tell you how much better things used to be, as usual, as well as sell you extra lives, keys to unlock alternate levels and paths throughout the overworld, and squawks, who can be rented out to point at secrets and collectibles for you corner cutters out there. But for all the care taken, it all means nothing without equally good gameplay design to let you successfully navigate this world. And on this note, Retro took some additional liberties. This time around, Donkey is always on screen, and rather than tagging in and out with Diddy, he'll be using his little buddy to enhance his movements, giving DK a little bit of an extended jump control that you otherwise wouldn't have, or a little bit of a longer roll. Take enough hits with Diddy, and you'll lose him, leaving the big ape to fend for himself solo until he finds another tag barrel. You do not want this to happen. Not that Donkey controls badly, especially after the Switch dropped those damn motion controls for blowing and rolling. But DK is a gorilla, and he controls with the momentum you would expect from such a powerful animal. There is a delay on his stop. Each jump is a commitment that is entirely based on the amount of momentum that you had before leaving the ground. The roll jump is back, letting you roll off ledges and then jumping from there, and maintaining rolling and jumping with proper timing alongside enemy jumps for more airtime is the name of the game here. While the original trilogy was specifically designed to showcase the larger sprites of the characters in order to meet the goal of being a visual showcase for the Super NES, the Wii and the Switch had no chance of offering a technological showcase over Sony and Microsoft. So with that off the table, Retro was free to go in a different direction with a camera that is much more zoomed out than anything the series had seen prior. And while this can be a bit of a double-edged sword graphically by limiting the amount you can appreciate the finer details the world provides, this new view also melds well with the much weightier momentum of this Donkey Kong and removes some of the cheapness from prior games. Though, make no mistake, this game is still a challenge. While each level moves at a fast pace, is short enough never to overstay its welcome, the difficulty curve ramps up early and often, and later stages can be extraordinarily challenging, with some of the final levels of World 8 not even having a single safe place to stand at times. One weak area in comparison to the original trilogy is unquestionably the secret areas in each level, which are all so familiar to one another and easy to complete that it wasn't long before they started to blend together, and it wasn't long after that where I just stopped looking for them at all. Musically, this game is a treat, eschewing the ba-bas of the new Super Mario Bros. Games and instead opting for a rendition of the original Donkey Kong Country music closer to the source material, with the Switch even getting the full orchestral treatment. And after playing both this and New Super Mario Bros. U, I cannot stress how important it is to the feel of the game. These new arrangements are wonderful to bang out to, with some of my favorites being Palm Tree Groove, Life in the Mines, and ironically enough for someone who hates the levels so much, the Rocket Barrel theme, which slaps with the force of 100 E-Hondas. Sound effects are also spot on, but the load times, particularly the almost minute-long startup when booting the game, could definitely be better. The game ran at a buttery smooth 60 frames per second throughout my play experience, and nothing but that would have been acceptable considering the precision platforming required. It is now 2025, and Donkey Kong Country Returns exists alongside its sequel, Tropical Freeze, a game most people will consider superior, and the newly released Donkey Kong Bananza, which did what no one thought could be done, bring DK back into 3D, as well as give him an emotional and personal journey that players can connect with on a human level. And even back in the floundering days of the Wii U, people would say things like, just skip Returns, play Tropical Freeze, and that game is just a do-over of Donkey Kong Country. But as I finish my second time with it, I can't help but disagree. This isn't taking any flowers from Tropical Freeze or Bananza's Table. They're both some of the best games in all of platforming. But they also don't need any help from me, and I guess that's why I chose to tackle this one instead of Bananza, which is right over there on the shelf waiting for me. And I am here to tell you that Donkey Kong Country Returns deserves your time just as much as those other games. Made at a time when the franchise had just been fumbled in a spectacular way with that Bongo game, I don't think it's an exaggeration that without Returns, you don't even get to Freeze or Bananza. The truth is, yes, the game is derivative of the original Donkey Kong Country, in the same way that New Super Mario Bros. Wii was derivative of Super Mario World and 3. But it did what it had to do after 14 years in the Bongo and Expansion Pass wilderness. And it was the perfect return that this series needed, introducing all those new Wii players to the Big Ape in a way that built off their experience with Super Mario Bros. And paving their way for a banana-filled future for all of us. Games are not just mindless entertainment. Each one contains the stories and struggles of the people who made it, the players who enjoyed their time with it and wait for another, and the stories of how all of us, the game, the player, and the developer, arrived at this point in time. And that's what this is. A story. This is the story of how the return of Donkey Kong Country happened. Thanks again for tuning in for another video and another project complete. And don't worry, when I said I haven't gotten to Bananza and Tropical Freeze yet, we're going to be getting to those and sooner than you think. Tropical Freeze is the next one on my docket, in fact. So that should be here hopefully pretty soon, because I've already completed that as well. And I just want to let you guys know once again how much I appreciate the support. It means the world to me. And if you liked what you heard, or if I made you think at all, consider giving a like and subscribe to this new channel. It's not something I typically ask for on the larger channel, but this is kind of a new fun project, and I'm seeing what we can do a little bit different here. And if there's any stories you have about Donkey Kong or any other IP or franchise that you'd like to share, or some insights you'd like to give, well, we've all read different books, and you've probably read some new things that I haven't come across. So feel free to drop that in the comments section below. I'll see you guys again soon, and sooner than you think.